Hi. So, as I promised, this is the video where I will explain further on the campaign. So, we can start with what is the campaign and where is it and stuff like that. Who's the characters? Well, the campaign started on the planet of Dusk, which is an edited version of the Dusk described in the Dark Heresy rulebook. Since in that rulebook, Dusk was, well, I think they had about this much of a line, but my players wanted to play a Deathworld company, which is their drop troop Deathworlders. So they decided they wanted to play this one. So what we did was, Dusk in this world is more, it's a death world, but I think that's probably the best death world to be on. See, on Dusk there's these things we called reaver bats, which was actually me who misunderstood a creature from the Dark Heresy books. But I liked the creature so much, I decided to keep them. And they're the main foes of humanity on the Dusk planet. For those who don't know, Dusk is a very primitive world. Only black powder, swords, stuff like that. So nothing too fancy. The Reaver Bats. Well, these Reaver Bats build like these giant mounds. Mountains, not mounds. So they build these giant mountains where they all live in, and then they have the queen, much like a hive's nest. Then outside of the Reaver Bat settlements, there's actually Arachnokentar, which is also something I sort of misunderstood, which is really the Dusk Stalker, but I couldn't remember the name, so I started calling them Arachnokentars. So they're the main antagonist on the world of Dusk. So they've been basically fighting humanity every time they start to settle out. The cities are somewhat safe, but they still have attacks from Reaver Bats and sometimes Arachnokentars. But that's not really the most deadliest thing on Dusk. The most deadliest thing is that madness is running rampant on the planet, and not just like many people are born mad. It's like people become mad, and they like sneeze on somebody, then they become mad. So it's like a virus of madness, so to speak. So that's mostly what takes out the frontier settlements. Yeah, that was basically how it looks on the world of Dusk. What has happened now is that, as I said before, the planetary governor has invested a lot of money for modernization on the planet. Which means that the Imperial Guard has had fortresses on the world for training troops directly. So, how they recruit on this planet is quite simple actually. Nobody wants to live on Dusk. Everybody is signing up for wanting military service, since there's actually becoming a lot of new people to this planet, many from totally overcrowded hive worlds who are here to try and build up Dusk. So basically recruiting is everybody's volunteers. Nobody wants to live on Dusk. So there are volunteers from everywhere, some prisoners and stuff like that. So now we're over to the characters that I play with. We're a group of, let's see here, 5? Yes, 5 players and 1 GM. This guy, and they have a commissar, which he is not really from this planet, but he's been trained and he lived long enough on Dusk. There's the sergeant, he's also a thief, which is hilarious actually. The medic, who is, well, apathetic and don't really care about human life that much. which is hilarious. The Ratling, and he's actually a pretty interesting character since I do most of the time just beat him around on the battlefield for being a Ratling. Not on the battlefield, between the battles, because there's a lot of racial prejudice. And there's also the Priest, but he just came in the last session, so I kind of just had to push him in because he couldn't play at one session. What I began doing is, we started all with training mission, where they got to introduce himself. Nothing really interesting happened there. They got lashed a couple of times, and actually this is a question I do have to ask, is how do you actually punish your players proportionately, yeah, like enough. Some of the things they did should actually be punishable by death. And the reason the Commissar isn't just shooting them all the time is, well, he's corrupt, and they're like, yeah, we stole like we stole all these glow sticks for you. Want some? And well, he's totally addicted to glow sticks. So he's a very corrupt Commissar, which will actually play out later on. If he gets caught, he will actually be stripped off his rank of Commissar. But that's for later. We don't know yet. So what they did is, as I said, they broke in and stole a lot of glow sticks and stuff like that, and actually got caught for it. And what happened to them is they were sent to more or less a torturing place, and they got beaten up and severely strained for it. And then they were sent in as the vanguard for their mission, which was securing this beehive filled with reaver bats and arachnocantars and God knows what. So after actually got that mission done quite nicely, Medic lost her legs though, well, a leg, but that was pre-planned. So yeah, after that mission they basically got a rushed ceremony, because I didn't really feel like playing it out more, and neither did my players. They wanted to continue the story and get some more character development. So they got loaded up onto a ship, which they traveled on a specific amount of time, where they basically just trained and yeah, didn't do so much more than feel how do you say? More or less only felt bad for himself for being in this giant metal box thingy. And then they actually did arrive on Hektos, which is the main planet for this campaign. They might be going to other planets, I haven't really decided yet. And here's actually one thing which I thought was interesting. Since they're a scavenger, they have scavenging doctrine. They actually, the medic actually tried to steal supplies from the medical bay on the ship. And what happened was she rolled 100, which is a critical failure. And since you failed, and it was scavenging doctrine, something bad is supposed to happen. And what I did was, she met a tech priest who actually who spoke to her something about you're stealing from the Imperium is a crime, and then he jabbed a syringe into her chest, that's the name, and induced her with some kind of a liquid. I'm not pretty sure what I'm actually going to do with it. I've said it's some sort of mind-numbing and mind-controlling agent, so I'm thinking of maybe going on the route of she like spots somebody else from her regiment stealing stuff, and she immediately just blacks out and goes near Commissar and says, he's stealing, you must shoot him. Which is what I thought, but just to specify, that's something in the group. But I'm thinking also of something like she's like been turned in for host for producing new organs, which I think is kind of fun. Like start growing a tumor like here, and she either has to remove it herself or something like that, which I actually would think would be kind of fun. But I'd love to hear your ideas on it. So they land on this Imperial world, which was an agri world, but now is a sort of more Imperial-esque world where they produce a lot, but they're also pretty self-sufficient when it comes to their food supply. And there's been a massive revolt there. Basically, what happened was, we're not going too much into detail because the video is already getting pretty long. What happened was, the planetary governor tried to centralize a lot more power, and since the planet was more or less controlled feudally, the feudal lords wanted more autonomy and stuff like that, and the planetary governor was more inclined in putting the bigger companies rather than their landlords, the nobles and stuff like that, and more in the hands of the merchants. And all this, also the populace was pretty upset of losing more rights to the companies. Also, they wanted rights from the landlords, which were, well, the classic status quo. So what more or less happened is that it's not only a war against the Imperium of Man, there's war against the different classes. Some nobles have a vendetta with other nobles and stuff like that. Some rebels don't even want to break free from the Imperium of Man. They're just fighting because everybody else is fighting, and they find their chance to vindict a vendetta. So it's a very politically complicated campaign I'm actually playing. As I said, I'll try and go into more detail later on. Yeah. What happened was they land on via dropping from Valkyries. They land on this fort, which is basically just guarded by teens and a few adults, which is currently fighting against the rest of the PDF that is still loyal to them, to Imperium of Man. And there's more or less what will have happened. I'm going to go into what happens next on the next vlog. So what I've been thinking about is, so the aim of this campaign is that I would like my players to have like always try and have to make hard decisions. One of the few examples I always pull out is they're in the swamps of Hectos, which they will be, and going through the swamps and the dirt and the mud, they actually step on a thing, and one of their comrades steps on a thing, and it goes click. Now there's a patrol of enemies right behind them, and they're going to catch up with them if they don't hurry up. But their comrade has stepped on a mine. If he lifts it, he's going to blow up. And then they will know exactly where they are. But if they try and help him and it takes too much time, well, then they will be overrun by the enemy. So like, damned if you do and damned if you don't is more or less the tagline for this campaign. I might just name it to damned if you do, damned if you don't. Also, very hard moral decisions I'm thinking about. Will you shoot this family of peace-loving people just for the fact that their son is currently in the rebellion and stuff like that? As I said, there's going to be a lot of things that go wrong and stuff like that. So, I hope this gave more clearance, and if there's more interest, I could actually make some sort of a Skype meeting. If the videos are too long or too uninteresting or too one-sided, I can actually consider myself doing a Skype conference with people who are interested. Thank you very much. Have a good one.